morning, everyone. Welcome to the Fabulous Five. So today we have a really great topic. It's by our beloved Bradley, Reverend Bradley. Thank God life isn't like a Hallmark Christmas movie. Okay, that was a very interesting idea. So let's just get comfortable for a moment and just do a little invocation to start us off. And so I know that in this moment, the divine is everywhere present. Everywhere I look, everything I taste, everything I hear is all the divine in action. And I am eternally connected to this beautiful power. I am an expression of God. And in this day, in this moment, and in this perfect space, this sacred space, I know that everything is unfolding in divine, perfect, right order. And that all that occurs today, every nugget, every thought is expressing God in its perfection. And so I just invite you to please join us with an open heart and receptive mind to what is about to occur and everything that is about to be said. And for this, I am so grateful for everyone that is here, everyone that is present. And I just let go and let God. And so it is. Amen. So today we have a question that is extremely great. What is one of the most memorable Christmas presents you ever received? Well, it was when I was married, and I had this great big Christmas tree, and I loved decorating it. And so on Christmas Day, I opened up a box, and there was nothing in it. I thought, this is crazy. And so then I opened up another box, and there was nothing in it. And I thought, why is my ex-husband now at the time, why is he doing this, And then he said, well, maybe it's already on the tree. So I look on the tree, and I see this little black box, velvet box. It's hanging, it's in the tree. I'm like, oh, this must be it. And I open it up, and it was a pair of plastic candy cane earrings. I was howling with laughter because I thought, that's so funny. What a great idea to do something like that. And he said, well, maybe you should look again. And so I looked again, and there was another little black box in there, and I opened it up, and it was a pair of diamond earrings. Wow, it was pretty cool. But it was just a fun way to start Christmas and do something that was a little unique and a little bit different. But I still love those little plastic candy cane earrings. So I've kept them all these years because it just reminded me of what a great time that was. So now I'm going to turn it over to Reverend Gail and let her tell us what her best present was.
Thank you, Cheryl. Isn't it? It's really not so much about the present as it is about the feelings that get elicited, right? Oh, I felt that with you. How fun. Well, I didn't have Christmas in our household, so my favorite Hanukkah gift was when I was about 8 years old, and my mom and dad bought me a purple bike. And that meant the world to me. And I still am filled up with so much joy when I think about it. And the cool thing about this bike is it had this banana seat. For those of you that grew up in the 70s, you know what a banana seat is. And it had flowers on it. And it was just so cool. And to me, it was all about being able to be free and go ride around the neighborhood. And we had a park that was nearby. So that, to me, that was the top as far as Christmas gifts of my past are concerned. How about you, Reverend William? What about you? You're muted, William.
I just love acting like Cheryl every once in a while. It lets me, lets her know that I love her. You took my bike story, but mine was the orange Huffy with the white banana seat. Oh, that was in Jersey. That was when I was living in Jersey, and that was a great time. But that and then also along with that gift was my train set that I got. Went around the tree at the base, and that got my career started in model trains and stuff like that. Which that ship has sailed. But anyway, so that was my favorite gift, and the most memorable that I have is my orange Huffy with the white banana. So who's next?
So that would be Reverend Gail. So I love these stories, such creativity. And I really love, Dale, Reverend Dale, what you said about feeling those emotions and memories around these gifts. So I felt it too. So my most memorable Christmas present is a gift that I received just a few years ago. And that gift was a letter from a friend that I really hold dear. You see, I grew up with this friend. We were close in every way, from really about age 4 through college graduation. However, after that time, our lives really started to separate. My friend experienced many, many challenges, and that led him to distance himself, not just from me, but from everyone. He was desperately seeking to find himself, to accept himself, to love himself. And that distance was really hard to live with, but I knew he was following his own path, and I knew that he needed to do just that. So believe it or not, after more than 30 years of zero contact, I received from him what most of us call an annual Christmas letter. But this letter was so much more. This letter was a signal to me that he had accepted himself and that he loved himself and was now ready to embrace his life with others. So this really cool Christmas letter reignited a really deep, ongoing friendship and reconnected life journeys that I know were never truly separated. Just following parallel lines for a while, parallel lines for a brief time in our eternity. So, okay, Reverend Bradley, now that I have added my most memorable gift, what is your most memorable Christmas gift?
Great memories, folks. Great memories. That's just great. That's just great. You know, if you're over 10, or much for sure, if you're over 20 years old, you're gonna have a lot of, most memorables, right? One was, I think I must have been about 4 years old, and I can only remember grabbing the hair, but it was a pony. I mean, I literally got a pony for Christmas, and I know I could talk decent at 4. Most children can. I thought I could, but he was called Uh-Oh because I don't know. I just ended up being called Uh-Oh. So I only remember the hair, and that's all I remember about him. I'm sure I saw him dozens of times, but one of those things that happens in the past, your memory is pulled up more from the photos you see. So there's a half a dozen photos in our family of me riding on this horse and Grandpa holding me because he's the one that gave it to me, and it stayed at his home and his ranch. So it was just kind of hilarious. So I'm going to share another couple of memorable Christmas things, stay in the line with the drama of today's show, talking about Hallmark movies and thanking God that our lives are not like a Christmas Hallmark movie. So a memorable Christmas was my wife and I, we were married and we were in our home, and it was Christmas. And about a week and a half before Christmas, maybe almost 2 weeks, we had our one and only miscarriage. And we were pretty devastated. But at that Christmas, I remember the feeling of we both had a baby gift. And mine was a little shoes and hers was like a little topper outfit. And we just gave them to each other and held each other and cried and just hung out in the moment. And, I get that experience was tragic and can be tragic. But the feeling of, I'm just realizing the feeling of connection with that moment is so real, right? And that's what we're always trying to do in any part of life, regardless of what it is. Even if we want to change it and we do our prayer about that, taking in the moment of the experience to really be with it can help the joy expand and any challenge move through you quicker, because you're not creating any kind of block. Now, a side note, a little fun, memorable Christmas one was, I don't remember if it was me or my former wife, because we were both hilarious people. Our first gift, all of us and our probably 6-year-old son at the time had to open up, was a certain gift, and it was SpongeBob Christmas outfits. So we all take the clothes, go change the clothes, come back, and then we finish breakfast and finish opening the gifts with these bright red and yellow SpongeBob Christmas themed outfits. So the topic today we wanted to chat about was thank God life isn't like a Hallmark Christmas movie. Hallmark's not a lot in my home. As you remembered, I'm a caregiver for my parents. And thank goodness it's not news, or sometimes it's other shows. I won't even mention their names. But a lot of times when my mom's in the room, who has a little slight dementia issue going on, it's just better to have a peaceful Hallmark movie. And I love them. A couple of years ago, I got one of those Hallmark bingo games. You've ever seen it? And you can scratch it off when you get something. And if you see a red truck in the background, then you can check that off. If you see a street named Main Street, you get to check that off. If there's some kind of store that only sells Christmas paraphernalia, you get to check that off. If someone is coming or going to the big city, you get to check that off. All the kind of typical fun things in some Hallmark movies, but particularly in Christmas Hallmark movies, because I see them a lot in my home. And either during July, when they have a whole new spread of Hallmark movies, or from repeating. And my dear sweet parents, my dad had been this way for probably a couple of years. My mom just in the last few months started getting to, they won't 100% remember the show they watched last week. So I'm not sitting watching them. I'm in the background cleaning or cooking meals or doing emails at the kitchen table, but I'm present to it. So I'm present to the themes that are always constantly going on, because the woman, the majority of the time, for some reason, people think she needs to be saved. I don't get that from her mom or from her new boyfriend. I just don't get that. I do love the sweet person who is the librarian or bakes cupcakes and special cookies in their little itty bitty shop. And you go to their home where they're baking more, and it's the most luxurious kitchen with like a 5-foot by 8-foot island you've ever seen. No one talks about whether this is a house or a really large townhouse, or how does someone who owns a sweet little bakery or is a librarian, I don't know, maybe even university librarians that don't get paid $80,000 to $100,000 a year, have this wonderful, rich kitchen, but we just enjoy it. The other thing I think I love observing, I just shared with my parents the other day, probably for the third time. I said, see that guy and see his apartment that stranger woman he just met a few hours ago came to his apartment or his home and visited. You see all his decorations around? Why, I was teasing years ago with one of my buddies. I said, I'm probably the only straight guy I know that would decorate that much at Christmas. And but it's just totally decorated. And he's just cool, good-looking, studly-looking guy. And he's totally into Christmas. He doesn't talk about it much other than helping his new girlfriend do her Christmas project for the movie. But otherwise, it's around. There was a funny theme recently where this woman inherits a Christmas grocery store, a Christmas-themed store, of course. And her parents said, we've had this for 40 years. You grew up here. We're just going to give it to you. Oh, how wonderful. What are you guys going to do? Oh, we're going to go to Florida. So they think after spending 40 years in a Christmas store, they're just going to go to Florida and not do Christmas in the mountains with the snow at their Christmas store during Christmas. I thought that was a kind of funny twist. The girl takes it over, kind of struggling. A guy shows up on the scene where he works for a big developer in town. It's one of those mountain towns that's kind of mid-sized. And he works for a big developer, and they're going to take over the building and do something different with it. And so they're going to buy it because she's been leasing from the owner, and she'll be out of business and doesn't know what to do, along with the other people who are on the bottom floor of this building. Time goes on. Solution: the new guy's wealthy father investor comes in, is now a partner and investor. He can buy the building. She can stay. Everything's happy. And this guy leaves his job of developing properties and goes to doing business with his dad. And one of his properties will be managing this building his new girlfriend's business is in. And his former boss says, well, now you get to go do what you love. And I'm laughing because, well, what he gets to do right now is be his new girlfriend's landlord. It was like, So you get to be your new girlfriend's landlord, and that's your dream job. I get there's this wonderful theme of Christmas in the background, but there's all these subtlety things. So, and also a recurring theme and all this hilariousness that I've revamped this in, and we're all going, oh my God, I remember hearing all those. At one point in the movie, she sees him with somebody else who ends up being his sister or her cousin or his sister again, or he sees her with an ex that's 10 years old, or a divorced husband, or her brother, and there's a miscommunication. They overhear something. I don't know why you would look at someone else's laptop, but you observe something. It's misinterpreted all the time. So then that lie is at least of the last third or half of the movie, right? There's this thing that we all know can't be really true, or we know right up front because the storyline told us that's his sister. It's not his girlfriend that he hugged and had a long coffee with. We're clear of it, but they can't express it to the point of being clear. They both know something's going on. They both know something's going on, but they can't just address it and be clear what it is. So I don't know why they think that's a normal thing to do. They would only do that, right? Because someone's getting paid $150,000 a year designing and looking at the marketing. And there's probably a whole team of people saying, what are the themes we need to put within a Hallmark movie that majority of the public is going to observe and understand and comprehend with? And one of the key things is not telling the truth about what's really going on. Because we're afraid something is going to happen. Even if we don't talk about what's going to happen, we're afraid something that's going to be too uncomfortable or embarrassing, or you're not going to love me, or you're not going to like me, or you're not going to date me, or you're going to be ashamed of me is going to happen around whatever that truth is. So I'm going to invite one of my ministerial colleagues here, Reverend Dale, and I'm only giving her a short heads up of what we're going to chat about. Okay, and so she's going to ask me a question, and we're going to play this little back and forth just for a couple of minutes here. So we're going to have our awesome production manager, Krista, put Reverend Dale next to me, and she's unmuted. Thank you very much. So Dale, why don't you ask me a question and I'll respond to you.
Okay, so Reverend Bradley, my question to you is, during this time of being separated from our loved ones, how is it for you being separated from your son during this Christmas season?
Christmas season. You know, it's fine. I get to be with my parents and stuff, and we'll watch. You know, It's a Wonderful Life, and we'll have some fun Christmas food, and that's what we'll do. And that was the Hallmark answer. So, Reverend Dale, could you ask me again?
Okay, let's try this again. Reverend Bradley, during this season of Christmas, and because we're in separation now due to COVID, how is it for you not being able to see your son this Christmas and holiday season?
I don't like it. I can be present with what it is, even if I don't like it. He and I have only not celebrated Christmas together one time. I mean, one time I wasn't seeing anyone, and so I went and stayed at him and his mom's and his mom's boyfriend's house, and we all had Christmas together, and it was fine, and we had a fun time. But it's only been one other time when I first came to stay with my parents that summer, because I had only moved here just a few weeks before Christmas. It was just too complicated to get back home to be with him. So that's the truth. I miss him. Hopefully we can do Zoom that day. He and I have a certain food we like to make at Christmas Eve, so we're not going to be able to do that. So that's the truth. So with regards to either one of those responses, sure, one was longer and more dramatic, but do you, as a friend and a colleague, do you think of me differently or perceive me differently regardless of either one of those answers?
It's not that I perceive you differently, because I know who you are, and I adore you and I love you. But when I heard the first answer, and maybe this is because of the work that we do as practitioners, there's this sensitivity that we develop that allows us to see beneath the words that are being spoken. And so when I heard your first answer, I felt like a wall came up. I felt everything's fine, nothing here to look at. And I felt like a closed heart. But when you said your second answer, I felt like we were tuned in. I felt like I was in something that was real, your energy, there was a congruency. And so it was really just experiencing you differently with each answer. It was just a different connection. You're
always a loving and kind and empathetic person. But for the general public, or let's just say for you, it's hard to measure this kind of thing, but the first or second answer, did you think you instinctively became more empathetic to me?
The first answer or the second answer? I'm sorry.
Yeah. The second one, you think became more empathetic automatically? Like you didn't even had to think about it. It was just instantly, see how she's nodding?
Exactly.
She instantly kind of came to me emotionally and spiritually to just be with the present because the truth is being spoken.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Great. So we're going to go on with that. Thank you very much, Reverend Dale. You can go back to wrapping my Hanukkah present. I appreciate that. So we want to get to that point because if you haven't had this opportunity, then please reach out to a minister or practitioner at our community. But somewhere in all of your circle of friends and acquaintances, I know there's one person who can hear whatever you need to have come out of your mouth. Because when that happens, you will feel such a release. Remember when you were working either with a practitioner or with a therapist? Remember that? And the initial times were uncomfortable, and then you got to the point where you could just say whatever you want, and that instantly came over you at that time. I didn't mean to. I met one of my best friends years ago at a music retreat by Daniel Nahmod. Solos we've had a lot. Actually, he's on tomorrow's show with Dr. Laura. I think she'll be interviewing him. Daniel Nahmod, wonderful man and amazing musician. So we're doing a retreat, and my buddy and I were the only people on this retreat under 50. There were maybe 24 of us, and we really hit it off and just became best friends. But a few years later, we'd be driving somewhere when I'd go visit him. He lives in another state with his wife, and he'd say, "I have a share," and I'm laughing because without knowing it, what that means is I don't need to say, "Hey, Brad, I really need to say something. I just want you to listen to me." And so the phrase was, I have a share. And I thought that was the friggin' coolest thing, especially between men who aren't going to say, "Hey, I really need to talk. Can you just sit with me for a minute and just really listen to me and not give me feedback?" See, sorry, I can't even say that, even though it would be a healthy thing to say without being sarcastic. So sorry for those of you who are with that. But I thought that was a really cool thing to say, I just have a share, and you just listen. So Gail didn't have to do anything. She just listened to me. But you could tell when I shared the truth, the empathy that you can be with that person is so much richer and broader. So in the middle of a Hallmark movie, if someone said, I saw you with this woman, I wanted to be really clear. Are you dating somebody else? Because, we don't need to move forward. Oh, no, that was my sister. Great. Let's party for the next 45 minutes in the movie. Think of how refreshing that would be. So it's not just refreshing for you to be true and speak whatever's going on for you, but for the person who's with you. It's like at least 50%. 50% you're gonna feel more refreshed, and 50% the other person gets the benefit of experiencing the true you and the real you of what's really going on for you. I know we can feel, I'm not even gonna ask you, I know we can feel what a true gift that is when someone can be with someone else and they feel they're getting an authentic person in front of them, regardless of the topic. I remember, speaking of being authentic, years ago I was doing a little coaching and training, and some people were having a hard time managing other people. particularly when they possibly might need to let them go. And I said, it's really easy. I promise you, it's really easy. We think the drama of ending a relationship, or let's stay with the work environment, ending a working relationship, can be really rough and oh my God, and this kind of stuff. No, you're going to base it on facts of here's your job description. You're not doing it. Or do you think you're doing it? It's written in black and white. No, I'm not. We've had a reminder. We've had a couple of reminders. We've met for 60 days. I just don't see how you can keep working here, because this needs to be done. You get that this needs to be done. You agreed to it months ago for the whole company, and it's just not being done right now. Majority of the time, and people I've experienced with that personally or coached with, the person says, yeah, I'm just not cutting it. I'll just get my notice, or can you fire me so I can get unemployment for a little bit? What if relationships all ended like that? Whether it's a marriage or whatever, my former wife and I were, you heard when I interviewed her a few weeks back, we were very public in our church. She was a minister. I was in leadership. We were in a twice monthly prayer meeting with 20 something other people, a monthly practitioner meeting. But the person who I married wasn't gone. They were still the loving, kind person that I initially married. It was just the things that happened in the relationship and in our lives that we grew apart, and we weren't supposed to be in that level of relationship before anymore. So that's why, 6 months after she moves out of town, I can stay with her and her boyfriend and my son at the house in another state, and we get along fine. Sure, I prefer it maybe look a little something different, but I'm not going to have an issue with it because it's the truth. I'm not going to have an issue with it because it's the truth. And if you can always tell me the truth, or I can always share the truth with you, whatever it is, maybe some people can't hear it, and maybe you can't hear it that time. And you get to tell me, I'm just not in a space to be really present with you. Is there someone else you can chat with? Or can we bring it up tomorrow? All right. Enough lessons. Let's go back to those really fun things, Christmas Hallmark movies. I still am loving the bingo thing. We haven't printed one this year of all the unique dynamics of what needs to be done. I love all the stories of there's either a Christmas tree farm that needs to be saved or an inn that needs to have better advertising. And send this woman who's making a fortune in New York City doing advertising decides, I'll stay here with my boyfriend in this little hick town and advertise online his inn that's only probably has 15 rooms. And I'm sure I can make the equivalent of money to support my loft. Oh, wait a minute, I'm not going to be in a loft. I'm going to be in this little sweet town. So I think I'd just be doing that. So there's all these different storylines that flow around, and we enjoy it because I will admit that near the end, every friggin' time, there's enough that I got to wipe my eyes because I get teary, because it's just so sweet. Whether it's the little boy whose mom comes home from the service, or the clarity reveals because there was this dysfunction and this agenda that wasn't being spoken about, and it's revealed, and we go, oh, that's awesome. And sometimes it looks like Christmas sparkle coming in to save the day, but majority of the time it's just people doing things and life unfolding when you're truthful of what you want, what you can't do, what your expectations are, and how it gets revealed that way. So it's a movie. It's got a script. So we can do the exact same thing, because we can just go along, as we've learned in Science of Mind, and just go along and be at the effect of everything. And it's individualized incarnations of God, of spirit. The law is in us. And the impersonal law of life, law of attraction, law of cause and effect, the impersonal law of life that is also within us, we get to direct. And if we're not directing, then our subconscious mind just creates some wonderful stuff or just crap. But when we direct it and consciously choose, I desire this, and I know this is in my life, and I'm grateful for it being in my life. Through that use of the law, then we can have our script of whatever we want in our life manifest. So we want to have that happen all the time. We can't be stopping at every light doing a prayer. And we can do our practice in the morning, or we can sit with a practitioner and pray, and we think about it. We're finally remembering to think about it and pray. How can we have things more abundant and happy? I'll just use those two attributes of spirit, abundant and happy. And how can I have that more in my life on a more regular basis? What do actors do when they're in a play or in a movie? They practice, practice, practice. So it's not just doing your one-time daily practice, it's practicing all the time. So the more habitually in your conscious mind and in your subconscious mind, funny description of where I think those physically might be, in your subconscious mind, we can always know we're one with the infinite presence of God, and that abundance and infinite peace and happiness is always with me, and it's always showing up in my life. So that between prayers or between times of practice, that can always show up. Write our own script, practice, practice, practice. Write our own script, practice, practice, practice. Write our own script, practice, practice, practice. Now, maybe I did an okay job explaining all this, but I don't see any of my colleagues crying, so I don't have that little twist of a Hallmark ending. But I would love to hear what their interpretation of designing a life, or interpreting Hallmark movies, or just being present with the holidays here. I don't see who's going to share. I haven't looked at the chat.
That will be me. I like the theme of the Hallmark movie. And one of the things that I always notice about the Hallmark movie is that somebody comes to a point in the road or a point in their journey where they have to make a decision whether to stress out completely because their car broke down or something happened and now they're stuck in a little Christmas town for all of Christmas and they're supposed to be somewhere else. But what I see about the movies that really strikes me is that when they just let go and experience what is occurring and stop worrying about what is not occurring, they seem to grow as a person or to evolve into a higher realization of what's going on. And to me, that's so much like science of mind. It's like when you're holding on to a negative thing or something that's occurred in your life that you have absolutely no control over, how wonderful it is to me that you can just let go and just experience what is going on. Who knows? This is probably part of your journey, that you needed to experience this, that maybe this is something that needed to happen. But I do have to agree with Brad that I do notice that most of the time it's always the women that are, have to be rescued or saved, or somebody has to, charge in, which to me, that's the era I grew up in. The man was always the hero, the white knight, showing up. But just to see that this person evolves, and that's what I think Science of Mind is all about, is evolving to this higher level of consciousness, this higher thinking about just letting go of things that we have no control over and recognizing that we have no control over it and just experiencing the moment. To me, that's the beauty of Christmas, just to be in that moment, in that beauty, in that love, this season of light and the season of love and forgiveness. All of this is what we're celebrating during this time. So to me, I swear there's not a Hallmark movie that's been made that I haven't cried at, but maybe it evokes feelings within me that needs to come out, so it's something like I'll think like one was, I haven't had contact with my son in a long time because he's made this decision. But I also recognize that I have no control over that. I love him. I always will. But he's on his journey. And so that's what, to me, is the Hallmark movie. Let other people's lives unfold as they should, and let your own unfold in the perfect divine right order. So anyway, I think that beautiful Reverend Gail is going to be next.
Thank you, Reverend Cheryl. And just like you, and just like Reverend Bradley, I totally confess that I can get sucked into Hallmark Christmas movies one after another. But I don't think that I'm the only one listening here that does. So preparing for today's topic, I was thinking about these holiday movies, and I began wondering, what is it that makes them so popular for so many? Well, first of all, I thought, who doesn't want to find themselves in one of those picture perfect little towns, complete with the town center and lots of snow and maybe a big snowman in the center? But for me, I realized what I like is that the main characters get transformed. That for me is a key ingredient really in any good story. Could be the workaholic, the stressed mom or dad, maybe the Scrooge character, all get transformed. And not just people, misunderstandings get explained and they get worked out. Brides and grooms make it to their weddings. And the characters learn that relationships and family are important. And one doesn't live just only unto themselves. Yes, those are the things that I really like and what draws me to those Hallmark Christmas movies. And so that is what I get drawn to. And that is what Living the Science of Mind, like Reverend Cheryl said, that philosophy is all about for me. It's all about freedom. Freedom to choose the life that you desire, which is what we all have. Now, in a Hallmark movie, this all occurs in less than 2 hours generally, and especially in the last 10 minutes, right? Not at all like real life. So changing our perceptions or reframing our in situations and relationships and within individuals can happen immediately, right? Or it can fairly take days or years or even a lifetime. And why is that? It's because we're all amazing works in progress. So those are my thoughts. Reverend Dale, how about you?
Thank you, Reverend Gail. So I just love this topic because it seems like Hallmark movies have become just such this cultural thing for us now over the last, 10 years. It's like everybody participates in it in some way or knows about the impact of them. What's interesting is I see two sides to the Hallmark movie, kind of like what Reverend Gail was speaking to. But first, I want to talk about this expectation that people seem to have, and I don't know if it came about from in the 1950s or where it came from, but this expectation that the holidays are supposed to be such a great, wonderful kumbaya thing, and only wonderful experiences happen. I think 99% of people have something cruddy happen around the holiday season, and so like my Hallmark movie would be, it's okay to feel crappy during the holiday season. You know, it's okay. Like Reverend Bradley was talking about, it is okay. And guess what? Probably 95% of us have those kinds of feelings around the holidays, whether it's because of past things or things that happened during Christmas time. But the cool thing is about this whole Hallmark movie thing is that when I was thinking about, well, what is the Hallmark movie all about? And really, is it all just this perfection? And it really isn't. Because I did watch one last week. And I was thinking there were so many obstacles that were going on there in the movie that I was watching. There was a father that was destitute. There was a woman whose business was struggling. And I thought, that's not happy, joy. That's a lot of despair. That's a lot of sadness at the holiday season. So I think what the Hallmark movies are teaching us, like what Reverend Gail said, is that even in the midst of discord, the possibility for a happy ending does exist. And I think we need to entertain that a little more inside of ourselves, even though Christmas time might be really sad and sorrowful, to hold the expectation, and we teach this in Science of Mind, the expectations that good triumphs, that things are working themselves out, and to be able to look at that, because like, you know, these characters in these movies go from a lot of sorrow to good. And that we're not excluded from that, everybody. We can have the formula of a Hallmark movie where we have our discomfort, we have our sadness and sorrow, but at the end of the day, we transform and our lives can be harmonious and wonderful. That's something, we all have the potential of a Hallmark movie inside of ourselves. I just want to leave you with that. And who would like to go? Reverend William.
Oh, thank you for passing the baton on that one. I tell you what, I am going to take it and run with it. I am right there with you, Reverend Dale. Growing up, I couldn't stand Hallmark sappy movies. Just I got to throw up type stuff. It's just like, give me a good, shoot 'em up movie or a Western and I'm good to go. But as I've grown and matured, and especially going through practitioner training and becoming a reverend, definitely the heart has opened up tremendously to where now I actually enjoy the holiday season and especially watching the Hallmarks. But now we're actually starting to watch the Dolly Parton's themes, where she takes her song and basically puts a Christmas spin on it as well. So now I've got two ways to experience the same formula exactly. They're doing this small town thing, or it's like some person came from a big city to come and take over something in a small town, and then they get to realize the beauty of the small town and come to love it. But it's just that. And everything that I see, I always put it into perspective as science of mind, or coming from our teaching and stuff like that. Where do I see the commonality? Where do I see the patterns? I'm always looking for the patterns, the Fibonacci sequence. And the pattern that I see here in a lot of these movies, when you're talking about the damsel in distress, it's like, that's all well and good, because there's a cultural history there. But just on the same side where you think the damsels, can't do anything, it's like, why does the guy always have to rescue? I mean, what makes you think the guy's got the answers? It's like, man, believe me, we're just as screwed up as you girls. But look past that and look at the relationships between two people, regardless of what the gender is. But look at the relationship, and each of them have their own problems that they're bringing into the relationship. But when they find that they get outside of themselves and worrying about their own little world and start focusing on the plight and the situations of others around them, that's when their heart opens up. And that's where you see the transformation happen in these movies. And to me, that is what I love. I love to see the transformation of one, opening up their hearts to have a relationship that they thought that they could never find that perfect person. Or the person coming from the big city who is all about business, and all of a sudden they realize the beauty and the comfort of living a simple life, and how much more that opens you up, and to see that and to see the aha moment in their eyes in the story. Definitely, I don't have any tissue, Brad. Do you have some tissue? I need some tissue. Oh, thank you. But anyway, so I really love and enjoy these movies, but I don't put any type of gender role spin on it. I look at it as just relationships between a person and another person, and seeing the beauty of that, and then seeing the aha moment within their own lives, that even though they spent their entire adult lives, say, to become up that corporate ladder, and they're just about ready to get to that VP status that they've been striving for, all of a sudden they realize that doesn't matter. It's the connection between one person and another, that it's that type of realization of what life is truly about that they change. Now, that story could go the other way. Somebody's in a hick town and is stuck doing something, but then they realize that their happiness is in the big city and doing that big thing. The point is don't be focused on the story itself. Focus on the process of realization of change within themselves to do and become what they themselves didn't even realize that they wanted. But when they did realize that, then the transformation, everything came into line to allow that to unfold. Isn't that exactly what we teach? That the universe is waiting for you to figure out what you're doing. If you don't know, the universe can't give it to you because it's twiddling its thumbs. Come on, make a decision. Come on, I'm waiting. What do you want? What do you want? But as soon as you make that decision and figure out what you want from your heart, whatever it is that makes you happy, the universe will start to lay the foundation and the process that allows that to unfold. And with that, I will let, who is it? Reverend Cheryl, I guess you're going to be next. Thank you all so much.
I'd just like to touch on something that Dale said that really struck me, was that, you know, not everyone has a Merry Christmas, and not everyone enjoys being around the people that are family at Christmas. And so I'm just going to invite you to be a Hallmark movie this Christmas. What about if you go in and you leave all of your preconceptions at the door? And even though there's been discord and everything else going on within maybe this relationship or relationships for a long time, what about if you just walk in and just leave that at the door and want it to turn out with a happy ending? In other words, that you're going to come out of it feeling happy and joyful because you didn't go in with the negativity. You went in with just an open heart, and you just listen, and you just don't allow that to be incorporated into you. And you just end up having a good Christmas, because it's not something that you leave there feeling like you're depleted or you need a nap after hanging out with these people and stuff. But so it's your perception is what's going to make the difference. Their perception can be exactly the same as it's always been, but your perception can change it. But I also invite you, if you're to the point to where it's very difficult to be around these people, and you always end up having one of those Christmases that you just, you wish you could erase it from the board. Why not start a new tradition, doing your own thing, creating your own special moments or special times? Because you don't necessarily, even though it's family, you don't necessarily have to hang out with them. If it's that rough or if it's that difficult, I'm giving you permission right now to stay home or do something different, because this is your joy that you're involved in, not theirs. You're involved in your own joy, your own peace of mind, your own happiness. So just make the decision. Either leave that negativity at the door or never even walk up to the door. Your choice. And that's what the beauty of Science of Mind teaches us, that we are always at choice. Always. We always get to decide. So if you're going because you have to, or you're going because you want to, make that decision. So I'm going to turn it over to Reverend Gail. So take it away.
Thanks, Reverend Cheryl. So our collective comments today really remind me of embroidery. And why? Well, first of all, I really admire embroidery. A master embroiderer's work will look almost as beautiful on the back as on the front. Have you ever noticed that? And I am sure most of you have heard the illustration of life being a great tapestry that Spirit has created. Well, while thinking about this topic, as everyone's reflecting on it today, I remembered this tapestry illustration, and that got me thinking. It is God, Spirit, divine energy that creates. We discover and use. And a great example of this is the electricity that is used to film a Hallmark Christmas movie. We didn't create that electricity. We discovered what was always there, and we began to use it. So yeah, just another work in progress. So as we start and then move along our spiritual path, many of us are not a master embroiderer. That would certainly be me, as you would find lots of knots and crisscrosses and sometimes even tangles on the backside of my life's journey or embroidery. But what I know for sure is that Spirit has made a beautiful creation, actually beautiful creations as all of us, perfect tapestries, so to speak. So we all have the daily opportunities to be embroiderers. Throughout our lives, we see the backside of our tapestry has some beautiful stitches, as well as some knots, some tangles and crisscrosses. In other words, just like a Hallmark Christmas movie, our amazing lives are both beautiful and messy and can be full of trouble, all part of the weaver's journey, both during the holiday season and the rest of the year. So what we actually see happening in a Hallmark Christmas movie is the work each person's doing, I think, in taking out all of the knots, working with all the tangles, working with all the crisscrosses, and turning them into something beautiful in the tapestry of their lives. So I know we're getting close to the end of our time together. So if I had to summarize my thoughts on Hallmark Christmas movies today, I'm really glad that my life is not a Hallmark Christmas movie, because actually it's way better. And the best part is that it's more than 2 hours. It's an eternal lifetime. And I am grateful, Reverend Bradley, that you brought to us today the Hallmark Christmas movie analogy, because I can only imagine our conversation today if you had chosen instead a reality TV show. So thanks for listening.
Okay, that was, oh, Reverend Dale.
So I just have one, the teacher in me wants to give those of you that would like to try something fun, wherever you are this holiday season, this is just a little exercise in creating something for yourself. What would your life look like if you could, or your life at this point with the holidays, create a Hallmark movie for you? What would that look like? What would you want to create to bring about that happy ending for you, or that peace, or just to kind of give you a channel to move into beyond whatever feelings that you might be feeling that are hard for you to feel? But what would you, if you could turn that into a Hallmark movie, have at it, see what comes through you. I just think it's nice to kind of play with our energy in that way to entertain and engage our imagination. So I just wanted to leave that for you guys to play with if you feel inclined.
Oh, that's wonderful, Reverend Dale. All right, so as we come to a close to our daily Wednesday get together, I'd like to just invite you that at the bottom of the screen you'll have a subscribe or donate. Please donate to the center. All this stuff we do out of love. In fact, actually yesterday we were doing the Toys for Tots and the blankets and clothing and food drive. All of that stuff gets distributed throughout the Coachella Valley and even out into the Banning area. So please, whatever you can, open up your heart, donate to the center. It is definitely for a good cause. And as you give, you receive. That is one thing that we do teach about tithing and donating. It truly is a gift of love. Now with that, I'd like to go in and talk about, obviously every single day we've got something going on. Generally it's going to be at 10 o'clock, but there are some changes. Actually, later on tonight, Reverend Gail is doing the virtual remembrance service. And would you like to do a little plug, Reverend Gail? I'm sure she's always willing and ready to talk about her great services and ideas.
Thank you, Reverend William. I appreciate the opportunity. So tonight, please join me at 6 p.m. It's on Zoom, and the link is on our website banner and also on the e-blast that you received this morning for our 2020 Eternal Light virtual remembrance service. So this is the time tonight to come and honor those that you have lost this year or in the past, to honor them and to honor your own passage, your own journey through grief. So if you've experienced loss, this is a wonderful, wonderful opportunity to come and honor that space, that journey, and we would love to have you. So it is a Zoom link. As I said, it begins at 6 p.m. and will be done by 6:40 to 6:45. So please join us. And if you know anyone who has experienced loss and could benefit from this very amazing time together, please send them the link. Thank you, and I look forward to seeing you there.
Oh, that's wonderful, Reverend Gail. Thank you so very much. What you do for this community in dealing with grief and connection is just absolutely wonderful. All right, so as we move along, let's see here. So Thursdays, okay, Reverend Dale has actually 2 slots that she does. She does her Sacred Circle twice a week. That once is on Thursday at 9 o'clock a.m., not p.m., and then also again at 7:30 p.m. Oh,
Actually, I got it. I have to make the change for you guys. It's actually, we changed it to 5:30 p.m. because of the time change. So it's now 5:30 to about 6:30 on Saturday, late afternoon, evening.
well, there you have it. Right out of the horse's mouth. Okay, so then also on Thursday, please join Dr. Laura with her special guest, Daniel Nahmod. That man's got a voice, and his songs always touch the heart. My favorite is that one song where he's talking about his Batman. You know, I just love that. So, you know, it makes me think of being a kid again, and it's so much fun. So join them Thursday for her Higher View show. Then on Thursday evening, you have the Social 8 with Reverend Cheryl and myself. It's just a time to get together with whatever your favorite drink is for the holidays. Mine happens to be eggnog. And it's just a social hour. It's just getting together and talking about what's going on in your life. And also Reverend Cheryl puts together some fun and sometimes interesting questions that we get to have fun and discuss. On Monday, you have Back to Basics with Reverend Charles. Always a great topic. That man has such insight. We are so fortunate to have Dr. Joe pass the baton to Reverend Charles. Always look forward to that, and please join him at 10 a.m. Then on Tuesday, again, there's Reverend Gail with her grief work. She definitely has the knack for helping people get through that time of grief and see the joy and beauty of life still ahead of them. Isn't that true? Can I get an amen? Can I get a high five? So anyway, thank you all so very much for joining us today. Thank you so much, Reverend Brad, for such a fun topic for us to get into and to dive. Your ideas that you have are unique, and they're always fun and always quirky, and it brings out the inner child in us all. And so I know for all of us, we say thank you. And so there we have it. We're at the end of another beautiful show. And so with that, I'd like for us all to just get comfortable in our seats and reflect upon what has just transpired. And as you allow your seat to support you, realize the connection of all life. That connection is nothing less than spirit, the universe, God, Allah. It doesn't matter what you call it. It just is. It is the energy of universal flow. And I recognize that oneness within me. And in doing so, I recognize the connection of all life, that we are all connected. And that connection is expressed through love, through joy, through happiness, and yes, through grief. And it is from that point of expressing life that you see the connectedness of all and see the beauty of life unfolding perfectly. And this I declare right here and right now, that life is perfect. Life is that Hallmark card. It is the Hallmark card that we choose to experience. Spirit only says yes. It is waiting for us to act upon it. The tapestry that is our life, that quilt of love and experience, warms us through these holidays. As we walk along the roads and watch our TV shows, our hearts are open, receptive, seeing the truth of life, that we are all one thing happening, and that is spirit. And it's from that standpoint I am filled with such joy and gratitude. A gratitude that lasts through the ages. And with that gratitude and joy in my heart, I release my word as law, knowing it is perfectly done right here and right now. And together we do say, and so it is. Thank you all so very much. Have a wonderful day.